Hari Om Tat Sat, Tatvam Asi. Welcome everybody to our Module 2, Theme 4 lecture, Prana, Chakras, Nadis, and the basics of the asana. So we are going to be jumping into some really juicy material this week, and I'm sure you're absolutely excited and as delighted as I am to get in touch with these really juicy subjects. Now that if for those of you who've done module 1 already, some people are starting on module 2, that's not a problem. But if you have done module 1 already, then you've got a nice basis in history, philosophy, ethics, and some of the understandings of what is the mind and meditation and yogic lifestyle. But if you are just starting in on module 2, welcome to the ISHTA yoga course. This is a standalone module, and you do not need the prerequisites of module 1 to do this module. Each module is completely its own entity. So we're going to be learning a little bit of Sanskrit along the way. You can hear the way I pronounce the names of the various chakras and also some of the names of the asanas as we go along. And we're going to be learning the asanas this next 2 weeks through the lens of the chakras, because there are so many beautiful asanas in our yogic practice. So how do we group them? How do we classify them? There's so many ways, and we'll cover a lot more of those on the retreat. But for the purposes of our work here together, we're going to be classifying them through the lens of the chakras. This gives us a nice way to start to look at how the asanas can work on an energetic level, not just a physical level as well. And as ISHTA yogis, we are very interested and fascinated by the energetics as well as the physical processes behind the work that we do. So let us begin. So what are the basics of prana? We have covered in module 1 a little bit about prana in our Ayurveda section. And we're just going to recap here as well. So prana is the life force energy of the universe. There is nothing that can exist without prana. So the very fact that I'm alive right now means that there's prana moving through me. But there's prana in a table, there's prana in a chair, there's prana in a river, a rock, and a mountain. And everything has more or less prana depending on how alive it is, or how full of magic it is, how full of life force energy it is. So a crystal or a mountain might not be alive in the sense that we see it, but we do believe that it has a spirit, a consciousness, and a life force energy within it. So does every other inanimate and animate object. But there are definitely some things in the universe that have more prana than others, and the quality of the prana is sometimes better. So throughout the world, prana has different names. It might be called Ki in Japan, where we get the word Reiki, life force, universal life force energy. Qi from China, Numen from Europe, and there's various other names throughout the world. All life force and existence contain prana. All right, the main source of prana in our solar system is the sun. So everything contains prana, but it needs to be revitalized and re-energized because energy is constantly moving around. It's never static. And so the sun emits a large amount of prana in our solar system. And there are various different stars that emit prana in various systems throughout the cosmos. The planets in our solar system take prana, the light of the sun, and reflect it out and influence the happenings of our earth. But the light from the sun also comes down and is absorbed by the plants, the animals that eat those plants, and in the case of carnivorous animals, the animals that eat those animals. So there is always a movement of prana, a movement of the energy in our solar system, and it manifests in various forms like we learn in school: heat, light, sound, chemical energy, kinetic energy, potential energy, etc. All of these we've covered in module 1. So this is a recap. But what's really important for us is hatha yogis, not hatha, not hatha yogis, is that energy manifests in a form of polarity. So it's either this way or it's that way. Okay, it's got polar. So if we think of a magnet, it must have two poles in order to work. For electricity to work, it has to have polarity. So the polarity of prana can be a yang kind of prana, a yang kind of chi. And we can give this various associations. Ha, the sun, okay, ha is the sound of sun, hata, meaning sun, moon, yoga. So ha, the sun, heat, dry, light, masculine, and electric. And prana can also be of a yin variety. Chi can be of a yin variety. Yang and yin are Chinese terms. They are not Vedic, they are not yogic terms, but I utilize them because they are very well-known terms in the West. So yin has the quality of ta, the moon, cold, moist, darkness, feminine, and magnetic. Remember that light and dark are not necessarily equated to good and evil. They are polarities of light. They are polarities of existence. The night is no more good or bad than the day. They just are the opposite sides of a coin. The daytime is the time of exertion, of work, of social obligation. Nighttime is the time of socializing, of going inward, of family, of storytelling, and of the realms of the unconscious mind. So we could definitely say that the yang kind of energy is conscious and externalizing, and yin energy is subconscious and internalizing. And prana is, of course, needed for all life to be maintained. All right. And the quality of the prana is dependent, as we've discussed. So we're going to have a look at the nadis now. The nadis are the energy currents or the rivers of the body. And we have three main channels, three main nadis in the body that we're going to learn about in this course. For the level of a 200-hour training, this is more than enough for you to be learning and will serve you for the rest of your yoga practice, career, and teaching path. So the word nadi means river, okay? You can think of it as a river, an estuary, a channel. And it's a river of what? It's a river of prana. It's a river of life force energy. But these rivers manifest in the body in different forms, and this is debatable depending on the philosophy and the scholars associated. But we could think of these channels as being the arteries in the body, the veins, the nervous system, and the fibers in the connective tissue. In fact, the connective tissue, also known as the fascia, are believed to contain those thin little meridian lines that are used in acupuncture and acupressure as well. So we call these acupressure points the marma points in the yogic teachings. Okay, so these rivers of the body, they transport fluids, they transport life force energy, they transport elements through the body, and they keep us alive. So not only energetically, but also physiologically as well. These rivers, these nadis, are working through the body. There are thousands of nadis in the body, and Chinese medicine has given us quite a well-mapped understanding of the meridians within the body, these channels of energy. And there's a little picture here in the slide of a person sitting, and you can actually see that writing that you see there is Sanskrit, the language that we utilize in yoga. And you can see all these thousands of nadis on this person's body. Here's actually a nicer, kind of a clearer picture. Now, what's important is that you'll see some symbols here that we can even look back at later on to understand a little bit more. But we can see along the central line of the body, these little flowers, these lotuses. These are the 7 main chakras of the body, which we'll be learning about today. We can see a line around the body, the electromagnetic field, or the aura of the body. The word aura comes from the Greek word meaning light. This little symbol over here showing that the left side of the body is the feminine side, ruled by the Ida current, the feminine lunar current, the cooling current of the body. So we see that symbol there on this person's left side. And then we see the symbol of the sun on his right, the masculine Pingala force. the electric force, the heating force of the body. And we'll learn more about this as we go. And then we can also see little points along the way inside his body, little smaller chakra points. All right. So it might look confusing, but the more you learn through this module, the more you'll be like, oh, now I can actually see what this is now. I can understand. Why are there 2 petals at the 3rd eye, for example? So there are thousands of nadis, but the 3 primary nadis that you need to, there are 3 primary nadis that you need to know about in this course, all right, for your level of training. So we can maybe even look at that picture again later. So the 3 main nadis. I've got 2 pictures of the nadis here. Let's start with the one on the left. So this picture here, I chose specifically because I liked the colors associated with the nadis. There are 3 of these energy channels running through the body. The first one, that's the most important one for you to learn about, is called Sushumna Nadi. Sushumna Nadi. And we can see Sushumna Nadi as this main line that runs down the body. You can see it here in the yellow line, connecting these little purple dots, the chakras. And we can see it on the right here with that thick, but like a tree trunk running from the crown all the way down. The first thing that comes to my mind when I look at these pictures is I see a few things here. I see the caduceus. The caduceus is the medical symbol, you know, the symbol of healing, with the 2 snakes intertwining up the staff. A very ancient Greek and Egyptian symbol of healing. Interestingly, though, on most ambulances and emergency vehicles and medical associations nowadays, you'll only see the staff with 1 snake intertwined, showing that the modality is actually incomplete in its healing abilities. But it's supposed to have 2 snakes, 2 serpents intertwined. And these channels, these Ida and Pingala channels that weave up like this, have been given kind of the association of serpent or snake-like energy or dragon-like energy, because the serpent, the snake, the dragon represents life force, current, okay? It's not the thing that's been demonized in the West through certain religious teachings. In ancient times, the serpent or the snake or the dragon was always symbolic of life force, of sexual energy, of power, of potency, and the ability for us to transform. So from the base of the spine, from the root chakra, we have these 2 almost helix forces that run opposite to one another, and then they kind of move away, and then they are drawn together because these 2 forces are like lovers in the body. They are the electromagnetic forces. They are the god and the goddess, the Shiva and the Shakti forces moving through the body. So as they part and go their own way, they're drawn back together. And what we actually see is that, now this picture on the left doesn't show it correctly, but technically those purple dots in this picture should actually be at the point where the red and blue lines meet. That is where those purple dots should be. A chakra can be defined as the meeting point between where 2 or more nadis meet. So we know this from the ley lines of our planet Earth. Wherever these energy forces, wherever these energy lines meet, also called dragons or land serpents, where these rivers of energy meet, we get the sacred sites of the Earth, like Stonehenge and the pyramids. But the same happens in our body. We have energy lines that are running all through the body, and at the places where 2 or more energy lines cross, I can't do a third with my fingers. Where they cross, we get what is called a chakra. This means that 2 forces of opposite but equal polarity have met together at a point. So the masculine and feminine connect, and where that happens, there is life. There is a vortex of energy. There is something manifest there. And when these 3 forces along the spine. Sushumna Nadi runs through the spine, from the crown of the head, from the central nervous system, down the spine. So this is why the spine is encased in a vertebral column of bone, cartilage, because it runs information up and down this central nervous system channel, which is like the tree of life in the body. It is God in your body. It is the intelligence of the cosmic running through your body. So in any given moment, if I place my hand onto a hot cup, the signals of the nervous system run through my hand, the sensory nerves run, and they travel along the nadis, along the nerves, into the nerve plexus of my spine. It runs up and sends a message to my brain. My brain sends a message back down through the motor neurons and to release the hot thing that's burning you. And this happens in a split second. Prana moves at the speed of light or thought, whichever is quickest. So it moves very quickly, okay? And so there's a constant feedback between the central nervous system running up and down the spine to the brain, Sahasrara chakra, the 1,000-petaled locus, the brain. All these thousands and thousands of little neurons firing off information here in the brain. And this Sushumna Nadi is in the center of our being. It is the tree of life. It is the world axis within your body. This is why yogis pay so much attention to the importance of the spine. And it is also the channel up through which the Kundalini rises. We are not going to dive into Kundalini theory or philosophy on a 200-hour teacher training, but know that it is available in later trainings, like the 300 hours. So weaving around this helix are energetic currents. We cannot see them with the physical eye. We cannot dissect them through the body, but they weave like this. And everywhere they meet at the 7 main points of the body is what we call a chakra. These forces are polar in nature. So the Ida Nadi, the Ida current, is lunar. She is feminine, she is cooling, she is soft. She is calming. She represents the guna of tamas, inertia, the brakes, okay? For those of you who have done module 1, you'll know what tamas is. If not yet, don't worry about it, you will learn. And she also represents what we call the negative mind or the protective mind. So there's a part of your brain that is in charge of protecting you, of saying no, of pulling back, of reservation, of saying think again, okay? Don't rush into things, push the brakes, slow down. So this is what Ida's job is. She is the energy current that runs up the body, and when in balance, she has these qualities associated to her. The PNS stands for the parasympathetic nervous system, which we will learn more about later in this module. Okay, it's your rest and digest nervous system. The Pingala Nadi is yang in its energy, masculine, solar, and represents the sympathetic nervous system that is fight or flight. He is heating, energizing, and rajastic for those of you who have done your Ayurveda module. He is in charge of the projective or the positive or the yes mind. So whereas in the protective or the no mind tells us, hey, press the brakes, step back, the projective or the yes mind's job is to say, hey, go for it, let's step on the accelerator. So these two forces in the body, they are constantly in a healthy, balanced body, modulating go and slow, faster and stop. They should be balancing up at all times. And they do this by regulating through the hemispheres of our brain. Okay, more on this later. The Sushumna Nadi over here is the neutral force. It is the central nervous system, the brain and your spinal cord. It is sattvic in nature. It is harmonious, balanced, neutral. It is the meditative mind or the mediation mind. All three of these forces must be in balance in the body. And this is what we are striving for in the practice of Hatha Yoga. the balance of the energy of the sun and the moon, the balance of polarity in the body to bring us to a space of neutrality. All right. So let's see here. Before we go into chakras, if we look at this picture, we'll see. So what these pictures don't show, and I might have other pictures of it later, is that these two forces, Ida and Pingala, both start at the root chakra. And they weave up the spine, and every point where they connect, they touch, becomes a chakra, okay? A vortex, a wheel of energy, of life force, has different functions and vibrates at different frequencies. The higher it goes, the higher the frequency it is. Later on, you learn that, not in this course, but later on you learn that each chakra is associated with a planet. Movements of the planets affect the chakras. Each chakra has an element, a fragrance, an aroma, a sound, a mantra, a deity, a god, a goddess, symbols. This is the entire journey, the study of the chakras and the nadis. But today, we're really just acquainting ourselves with the vocabulary. As they arise, they come up and they enter. This is very important. They enter through, the nostrils. Now, Ida current enters in through your left nostril. Okay, so put your thumb on your left nostril. That's where she enters in. Okay, can you feel? Just anchor it into the muscle memory. Pingala, the masculine heating solar current, enters in through the right nostril. Okay, touch it, right nostril. As these points enter the nostrils, either on the left, Pingala on the right, they meet at the point of the third eye, of Ajna chakra, Agnya chakra, at the center of the eyebrows here. And at that point, they cross over into what we call the hemispheres of the brain. This is why the left, write this down or draw a picture, the left hemisphere of your brain is in control of masculine associated things, such as analytical, logical, language, mathematics. Left hemisphere of your brain. But it controls the right side of your body. Okay, this is a biological fact. If a person has brain damage on the left hemisphere of their brain, it is the right part of the body that is affected. Okay, very important. So when I move my right fingers, it is the left hemisphere of my brain making that happen. Okay. When I play the piano with the right hand, it is the left hemisphere of the brain making that happen. Just the same as with the other side of the body. The left side of my body is controlled by the right hemisphere of the brain. This is a biological fact, a neurological fact. Right hemisphere of the brain controls the left side of the body. And the right hemisphere of the brain is all those feminine associated things: artistic, intuitive, imaginative, color, abstract thinking. This is why they say left-handed people are more artistic or have more creativity. It may or may not be that case. We don't know if that is the case, but it maybe shows that left-handed people have more access to the right brain functioning more throughout the day, and right-handed people have access to the left brain functioning more throughout the day, okay, just through the dominance of the hands. So this is why the left side of the body, look at the picture, the left side of this person's body is associated with the moon, feminine energy. And very often, when there are problems on the left side of the body, and we see in our asana work, if there are issues on the left side of the body, injuries on the left side of the body, tightness on the left side of the body, it very often has to do with feminine related things. For example, a left knee could be anger towards a mother or a sister or a wife. Okay? Right knee to a father, to a brother, to a son, to a husband. Not necessarily always, but it can very often be the case. So left is associated with the female and the feminine, right to the male and the masculine. So perhaps there's a certain part of the body that is tighter, more restricted. Maybe that person doesn't allow themselves to express their femininity fully or their masculinity. Maybe a person injures a particular part of the body. We should look at that as energetic language and just see, maybe this has something, maybe we can learn something here about ourselves. Okay, so when these forces enter into the nostrils, either entering into the left nostril, which crosses over at the third eye point here, into the right hemisphere of the brain. Pingala comes into the right nostril, he crosses over at the third eye point into the left hemisphere of the brain. And so this is why in Nadi Shodhana, the alternative nostril breathing, the name Nadi Shodhana actually means the clearing of the nadis, of the channels of energy. So it's got nothing to do with the sinuses, although it will have positive effect on the breathing, but it's actually to balance hemispheres, okay? To balance the brain hemispheres, to balance the energy currents. Great for people who are out of balance, great for people who have inner conflict, great for people who are overstimulated or understimulated in particular areas of their life. Nadi Shodhana is a remedy for this treatment. So, you know, for those who have done module 1, you would learn that we, you know, hold the hands here or in a similar position, and we alternate the nostril fluctuations. Inhale left, out the right, inhale the right, out the left, inhale the left, out the right, inhale the right, out the left. And so what we're doing is we're actually rebalancing, realigning the nadis through the nostrils. That's how we do it. Isn't that beautiful? So we'll see later that the third eye chakra has 2 petals, and those 2 petals represent those 2 forces that meet here. They also represent the 2 hemispheres of the brain. So this is why we do what we do. Remember that yoga is a science. It is an advanced science of being, of self-realization. And what's fascinating is that your nostrils actually alternate in dominance throughout the day. So roughly every 2 to 2.5 hours, the nostrils in a healthy, balanced body will alternate, and they will keep the body in balance depending on the season, the time of day, and also what is required at that moment. So for example, if it's particularly hot outside, the nostrils might shift so that the left nostril is more open. This will send Ida current through the body and create a cooling, softening, calming of the body, maybe through perspiration. She will also be activated when the body is overly stressed and your body needs you to calm down, to bring it down, okay? Right nostril will be active and dominant when you're in a heating cycle, when your body believes it needs more energy or more vital force to function throughout the day. So left nostril will also open when you're in a rest and digest cycle. Right nostril when you are in a go mode, and also in fight or flight. Sorry, my cats are being particularly energetic this evening. So the nostrils alternate every 2 to 2.5 hours to try and feel balance, but we don't live very balanced lives in the West anymore, do we? So in a healthy, balanced person, what's so fascinating is that there's 2 times in the day when both of the nostrils should be wide and open and, you know, uninhibited of, sorry, my cat's about to knock my light off. When both the nostrils should be open and free to breathe, and both of the energy channels should be balanced. Can you think when this might be? Well, if Ida represents the energy of the moon and the night, and Pingala represents the energy of the day, the sun, then it would make complete sense that it's at the morning, the twilight of the morning and the twilight of dusk in the evening, when the polarity of day and night, sun and moon are equal, that both of the nostrils should open. And this is why our sadhana often happens at sunrise in the morning, where we can practice our meditation, because the energy currents of the body are at their most balanced. Okay, middle of the day, think about it. The energy of the sun is too strong, we're too externalized. Okay, too late at night, you're tired, you're going to sleep. So there's 2 times of the day when our practice is the most powerful, and that's at sunrise and at sunset, when the energies of the sun and the moon are balanced. This would also happen during the full moon as well, and very often during the new moon, because they are either conjunct or opposite. So these forces that play in the world around us, they have very, very noticeable and measurable effects on us. And also these Nadis are balanced at the 2 equinoxes as well, the spring and autumn equinox, when the powers of light and dark are the most balanced in the world. So very, very, very interesting. So now we can finally start to look and explore the chakras. Chakra, not chakra. Okay, some people are pronouncing it nowadays chakra, like an SH. It's not chakra. It is chakra or chakra with a ch. The word chakra means wheel. Okay, a wheel. That is what it means. The chakra it actually exists on all of the koshas. It exists in Annamaya kosha, the physical body, Pranamaya kosha, the pranic body, the energy body, Manamaya kosha, the mental body, Vijnanamaya kosha, the wisdom body, and Anandamaya kosha, the bliss body, the soul. Those of you who haven't done module 1 yet, you will still learn about the koshas. Don't worry about them now, but just know that the chakras manifest on the physical body as well. They're not just energetic currents in the body. But on an energy level, they are definitely vortexes of energy. They pull and push energy out of the body. They are like feelers, like antenna, sensing into the world. And if we're in negative environments, they might pull in that negative energy. Okay, they can also push out negative energy. They can pull in positive energy. They can push out positive energy. This is why yogis are so specific about the environments that we spend time in, the people that we have conversations with, the people we influence ourselves with. As I said earlier, a chakra is defined as a place where the 2 or more nadis meet. There are 7 main chakras that run from the base of the spine, you can see in this picture here, up to just above the head at the crown, just above the cranium of the skull. These names that you have here are the English names, but in ISHTA we want to learn the Sanskrit names, of course. So root chakra there at the bottom, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, and crown. And these little words here are kind of like little keywords that we might start to look at, start to think about the chakras in different ways. Okay, so each chakra manifests in all of the koshas. I said that, on all the layers of ourself. It is like a ladder to God, like Jacob's ladder. We start at the root and we climb up the ladder to higher consciousness. We start at the body and we go towards the soul. We start on earth, we transcend to heaven. We start with our feet on the ground and we grow towards the sky. Like a tree, like a plant, we strive towards the celestial realm. While still keeping our feet on the earth, we are not trying to transcend beyond the physical realm at this time. Maybe in our yogic practices, we still have physical lives, we have families, jobs, homes, things like that. So we want to stay balanced in all of the chakras and not have preference over any of them per se. yes, the energy of the chakras can move from root to crown, but it can also move from crown to root. As above, so below. As in heaven, so on earth. Okay. So we can think of the chakras as a ladder to the divine, the tree of life within the body. I've given you some pictures here. They're not the best quality pictures, but I like how they represent the chakras. Very often we think of the chakras as being in front of the body and kind of these two-dimensional things. But what I want you to see here is that the chakras come off of the spine, Sushumna Nadi, and they actually are more like vortexes or funnels of energy. They exist in the front and the back and around. Okay, they are not two-dimensional. They are fourth, fifth, sixth dimensional. Who knows? I think these are all terminologies that New Age people use, and I don't think anyone actually knows what they're talking about there. To be honest with you, they're just making a lot of stuff up. But in the Vedic traditions, we don't have terms like that. We just know that they exist at a higher frequency and that they exist multidimensionally. So it's not just in the front, not just at the back, but all around, and also in the physical and spiritual realm. So I like this. I like these illustrations showing kind of the movement of energy through these vortexes. And notice how Muladhara, the root chakra, it actually goes downward. Okay, it is an apanic chakra, which means that it's helping us to release energy out of the body. And that's why so many of the eliminatory processes happen here in the body. Okay, menstruation, urination, fecal matter, all is released downward from the base of the body. And the crown chakra is going up. So as above, so below. Here's a nice image of, look how beautiful it is when you just look at these 7 chakras. Now, the number 7 is very important because there are 7 colors in a rainbow. So that means there are 7 expressions of light. If we put pure light through a prism, it will manifest in this physical world anyway. We don't know how it manifests in other dimensions, other planes perhaps. But in this physical world, it manifests in 7 rays of light: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Indigo is like a dark blue, like a midnight blue, and violet is this color purple, or maybe even a little bit lighter. You should go and look at some rainbows, and then you can see for yourself. Notice that each chakra has an English name: the root chakra, sacral chakra, solar plexus chakra, heart chakra, throat, third eye, and crown. Sometimes people call the third eye chakra the brow chakra. The Sanskrit names, listen to me as I pronounce them: Muladhara. Can you see that H there after the D? That means that the sound is exasperated a bit. So it's not Muladhara, it's not Muladhara, it's Muladhara. Okay, can you hear that little bit of an H? Muladhara, Muladhara. Okay, duh. It's a little bit exasperated. Muladhara. Okay, and it's not Muladhara, it's not Muladhara, it's not Muladhara. Muladhara. Say it. Muladhara. Good. I'll teach you what these names mean shortly. The next one. See, there's an H after the D, and there's an H after the T, so you know that H is a little bit exasperated. Svadhisthana. Svadhisthana. Okay? Svadhisthana. Sometimes you might see the word written with a W instead of a V. Svadhisthana. Svadhisthana. This is just a dialectical difference between different regions of India. Svadhisthana, Swadhisthana, it's all the same, correct. Manipura. Manipura. Okay, not Manipura. Okay, don't Englishise the sound. It's not Manipura. Okay, not Manipura. Manipura. We must pronounce the best we can. We want to honor the tradition through honoring the language. This language is over 5,000 years old. We want to do it some justice. Manipura. Anahata. Anahata. Not anahata. Anahata. Anahata, the heart chakra. You can almost hear the word heart in it. Anahata, heart. Okay, so then maybe that's how you remember it. Vishuddha, Vishuddha. Okay, sometimes also pronounced Vishuddhi, Vishuddhi, Vishuddha, Vishuddhi. Sometimes you will see it without the H, and people think it's pronounced Visuddha or Visuddhi, but it's definitely an SH, Vishuddha or Vishuddhi. Ajna, Ajna or Anya, Ajna or Anya. That kind of that Spanish N with the little squiggle over it, that sound with like an NG in the back of the throat, Anya, okay, or Ajna. And Sahasrara, Sahasrara. Say it, Sahasrara. We must roll the R's, like in Afrikaans, like in Italian, like in Spanish, we must roll the R, so it's Sahasrara. Okay, not Sahasrara, not Sahasrara, Sahasrara. Okay, we must try and do it justice. You'll also notice that each chakra has what we call a yantra. A yantra is an image that symbolizes the energy of that chakra. And there are mysteries within these images that have to do with sacred geometry and also vibration. When certain sounds pierce into particles, they actually form these shapes. Okay. Eventually, the colors of the chakras, the numbers of the petals, the geometric shapes all start to mean something the more you study. Even the direction of the triangles, these little central points in the middle called bindis. The same as what Indian women wear on the center of their forehead is a bindi. And you see on Ajna chakra, bindi, representing the third eye point. So these symbols can also be meditated upon to further understand the chakras and also to get a sense of the energy of your chakra in the body. Okay, here's another chart, also not the clearest, but just wanted to give it a little bit of a view here. So root chakra, Muladhara. Some of the things that it can be associated with it: career, money, mindset, and a sense of belonging. Okay, it says here, root chakra represents our foundation and the feeling of being grounded. It is located at the base of the spine in the tailbone area. Emotional issues might be survival issues, such as financial independence, money, and food. Physical association, the spine, the rectum, legs, arms, and the circulatory system. Okay, sacral chakra or Svadhisthana, Svadhisthana, you can see it with a W, associated with sexuality and pleasure. Our connection and ability to accept others and new experiences. Location is in the lower abdomen, about 2 centimeters. I actually don't go with this. It says 2 centimeters below the navel and 2 centimeters in. It's actually more in the pubic bone and closely associated with the sexual organs of the body, whereas in the root chakra is associated with the rectum. Sacral chakra is associated with the sexual organs of the body. Emotional issues, a sense of abundance, well-being, pleasure, sexuality. Physical associations could be reproductive organs, kidneys, bowels, and immune system. Bowels, yes, and I would also put bowels at the root chakra as well. Solar plexus chakra, Manipura, personal power and an ability to channel life force energy. Our ability to be confident and in control of our lives. It's in the upper abdomen and in the stomach area. Now, some people, this picture is incorrect. Some people will say that Manipura is here below the sternum, but the actual physical location for Manipura is at the navel, at the belly button, okay? And then it's such a big energy that it expands that whole diaphragm and the area below the navel as well. So we call this the Nabi point, and it's used in various different practices throughout the world as a very powerful energetic connection point, and where we meditate on to center ourselves at this point. So at the navel and a little bit in towards the spine. And this makes the most sense because there's, I mean, this area below the sternum, there's not much going on there, yeah. But at the navel point, there's a lot going on there. This is the origin of our breath is happening here, the movement, should I say, of the breath in the abdomen. And it's also associated with the umbilical cord and where we were connected to the mother in the womb. So, sorry, my kitty is very, 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 I think she's cold. So the umbilical cord was connected to our mother in the womb, and this was our source of life force energy when we were in the womb, our source of prana. We didn't, the source of prana wasn't in the breath. We weren't breathing in the womb. It had to come in through the navel point, and that is why it's still associated with life force energy. When we're born, the cord is cut or disconnected, get a little smack, take a breath in, and the source of prana changes from the navel to the breathing apparatus. Okay, through the breath, through the nose. Must be through the nose, not the mouth, okay? Mouth is a backup breathing system. It's not your primary breathing system. Heart chakra anahata, love, relationships, self-acceptance, our ability to love is here, okay? We'll get more into this just now. Location is the center of the chest, the center of the heart here, okay? It's not in the place of the physical heart, a little bit to the left, it's at the center of the chest, energetic heart. Emotional issues, love, joy, inner peace, physical associations, heart, thymus, the lungs, circulatory system, immune system. Throat chakra, Vishuddha or Vishuddhi, self-expression, our ability to communicate. Location is at the throat, but also the neck. Communication, self-expression of feelings, expressing, speaking your truth. Physical associations with thyroid, the respiratory system, upper, teeth, and the vocal cords as well. I would also say the jaw. Third eye, ajna, agnya, intuition, sense of purpose and direction in life. So this is kind of our vision for our life. Where are we going? What do we want? Our ability to focus and just see the bigger picture. So the lower chakras are more concerned with survival and how we navigate this physical world. The upper chakras are bigger picture, more soul connection, more divine relationship. Notice that the heart at the center connects the two. You can actually see that in the symbol of the upward pointing triangle representing the masculine and downward pointing triangle representing the feminine. As above, so below, heaven, earth. Emotional issues, communication, self-expression of feelings, the truth, physical association with thyroid, respiratory system. Okay, cool. So the third eye, our ability, I digressed. Third eye, our ability to focus on and see the big picture. The location is at the forehead between the eyes, okay, also called the brow chakra. It is here, it's not up here in the middle of the forehead, it's here in the middle of the eyebrows. And can you see that if I draw a line, it meets to my temples? So this is actually the physical location of the pituitary gland as well. The pituitary gland was in ancient times called the seat of the soul. And it is here at this level, and then that deep into the head. So it's that high, and then going down into my head, whoop, that deep. And if we had to draw two lines there, we'll find the pituitary gland. So the seat of the soul, the master gland of the body. Yeah, very powerful mysteries there, which we will discover later together. And then finally, the crown chakra, Sahasrara, the connection to the divine. This highest chakra represents our ability to fully connect spiritually. It's at the very top of the head, just above the cranium. Inner and outer beauty, our connection to spirituality and pure bliss. Okay, and it's ruled by the pineal gland and also the hypothalamus, the brain, and the nervous system. So, you know, if a person is focused very much on the physical world and sex and money and house and job and kids, then the lower chakras are kind of where they're expressing themselves, where they're kind of mastering the energy of their lives. People on a spiritual journey navigating the upper chakras a lot, communication, psychic ability, intuition, speaking to God, channeling, receiving messages. But none is better than the other. We cannot navigate the physical earth plane without the lower chakras. And we wouldn't be able to live, we wouldn't be able to survive. So just because they're at the top of the ladder doesn't make them more special, it just is a different function. It can make them better or worse. But yes, if people are disconnected from the upper chakras, they very much won't have much of a spiritual concept of the world. They might just not think about that, or they might not prioritize that. Just like if people are disconnected from the lower chakras, they are disconnected from life, disconnected from their body, disconnected from the world. Okay, they're in their head, they're in the spirit. So we can start to kind of see the chakras as a language. Now, very interestingly, so we've kind of looked at the chakras energetically, but I want to look at the chakras physically as well. So here, looking at the picture on the left, we can see the central nervous system running from the brain, and then you see the spinal cord running down through the center of the vertebral column all the way down. And offshooting from this central nervous system are kind of like clusters of nerves called nerve plexes, okay? A nerve plexus or plexi, the plural. And where these nerve plexi or plexes offshoot different areas of the spine, we call these areas the chakras. All right, this is what's so exciting because it's in the physical body. We can see it, we can know where it is. So we know that wherever there are lots of nerves in the body, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of information traveling, there's a lot of electromagnetic field around those areas. And look where they are. So chakra 1 and 2, okay, associated with the S1 to 5. That's the sacrum. And then the L, standing for lumbar, the lumbar spine, L1 to 5. Okay, so chakra 1, those base chakra, Muladhara, is associated with the coccygeal plexus. Can you see it coming out here? Coming out this part over here towards the rectum and the base of the spine. The next part over here, chakra 2, the sacral chakra, Svadhisthana, coming out here towards the T. T stands for thoracic, 9 to 12, coming out and moving down towards the reproductive organs, reproductive systems, and the lower parts of the body. Solar plexus, we actually have the word plexus, the nerve plexus. Solar meaning sun. Okay, so the solar plexus, the sun plexus, coming out here at the thoracic 5 to 9, T5 to 9. All right, coming all the way down there from the belly button, the navel point, and then encompassing that whole area over there. Very important. The fourth chakra is called the pulmonary and cardiac plexus, T1 to 5, thoracic 1 to 5, parts of the spine. And we can see it coming out here at the level of the heart. Isn't this amazing? Isn't this exciting that these clusters of intelligent life force, the Nadis, look at them, they're little rivers, little energy currents. They're coming out and they're running through the body. Okay, these are your Nadis, this is your life force energy. And where they cluster the most, this is a chakra. Chakra 5, the pharyngeal plexus, is at C. C stands for cranial. Cranial C 3 to 7. Okay, we can actually see the pharyngeal plexus. The chakra 5 is the throat, the Vishuddha, over there. The sixth chakra, the carotid plexus, P1 to 2. Okay, so that is cerebral, meaning skull, okay, cerebellum. And that's coming out here. Look there, it's running up into the eyes, up into the frontal lobe of the brain, into the nose and the sinuses. And then the cerebral cortex, chakra 7, is the brain. So can you see how exciting this is? The chakras are not just energetic points in the body, they are physical points in the body. We can locate them, we can dissect them, we can see them. We can see it here on the right as well. Look here, look at this. Look at where these red lines run out, and they've drawn these little outward vortexes to kind of give us a two-dimensional image of the chakras up and down the spine here. This is absolutely fantastic. So yes, the chakras have a physical manifestation in the body, anamaya kosha, the physical sheath, as well as the energetic. They're not just, you know, a kind of a spectrum of colors. They are physical parts. And also each one is associated with a gland as well, the endocrine system. So here we can start to see some of these. I might correct some things along the way. Let's have a look. So the root chakra, this is the location roughly at the base of the spine. The sacral chakra rules the ovaries and the testes. Okay, excuse me. Root chakra actually rules the adrenal glands. Some people might say adrenals can be co-ruled by the solar plexus chakra. Fine, but we have reasons why the root chakra rules the adrenal glands. The solar plexus, Manipura, rules the pancreas. The heart chakra, Anahata, rules the thymus gland. Vishuddha, the throat, rules the thyroid and parathyroid gland. The third eye rules the pituitary gland, and the crown rules the pineal and also the hypothalamus. Okay. You can see here as well, they put male, female, but be careful with using words male and female. That associates to gender, and this is not about gender expression, it's about polarity. So masculine, feminine would be better, or solar, lunar, or yin yang. Here's another run through that: adrenals, the gonads, pancreas, thymus, thyroid, pituitary, and pineal glands. This is absolutely fantastic. And I've added into the supplementary, or the what's the word I'm looking for? Recommended, optional, but not prescribed reading of this course. Recommended reading, a book. It's very old. I think it was written in the 1800s, called Glands Are Invisible Guardians. It was written by a practitioner of the Rosicrucian mystery tradition, and it's in your module 2. You can go and flick through it if this is something that intrigues you. So the glandular system is the chakras made manifest. Every gland has a secretion that can be either balanced or imbalanced. This is what we mean by chakras are either balanced or imbalanced. But using words like my chakra is open, my chakra is closed, is not really correct terminology, okay? Your glands, your plexes are not opening or closing. They are either active or underactive, overactive, underactive. So think of the words we use with glands, like the thyroid. Overactive, underactive. These are better words to describe the processes of the chakras, okay? Your heart chakra is overactive or underactive. Third eye, overactive or underactive. But think open and close is a bit of a misdemeanor, because your chakras cannot close. I think this image came from people teaching meditation of the chakras through the imagery of a flower. And now they visualize the flower opening, visualize the flower closing. But the chakras are always in operation. Okay, they're always working, but sometimes overactive or underactive, perhaps. Maybe blocked or stuck could also be similar words. Okay, but we must be careful with the terminology that we use. It's important to have a basic understanding of the endocrine system and the functions of these glands in the body. The reproductive glands are the testes in men and the ovaries in women. Even if a woman has had an ovectomy or a hysterectomy, she still maintains the energetic function of those glands. These glands control the sexual development, and they secrete the sex hormones, okay, testosterone, estrogen, all those things. The adrenal glands, they sit just above the kidneys. Okay, so you can see them there at the top of the kidneys, the little yellow hats that the kidneys are wearing. These kidneys are the bean shapes. The little hats at the top, there are the adrenals. Okay. And the adrenals have the most amazing ability to also replicate nearly any other hormone in the body. So if your pancreas or your thyroid isn't secreting well, then your adrenals can make up for that, which is why sometimes people have adrenal fatigue or burnout because they're working too hard. The adrenal glands are working very hard in our modern society because the body is constantly being perceived that it's under threat in some way. Pancreas, so that's the adrenals regulate the immune system, the metabolism, and also are responsible for fight, flight, and survival. The pancreas is regulating of metabolism and the blood sugars of the body. Thymus gland in adults is quite small. Okay, it's more prominent in babies and infants and small children, but it still does have a bit of an immune system regulating function. Thyroid and parathyroid gland regulate body temperature and metabolism, along with many other important things in the body. In fact, we're only starting to really discover the magic of the thyroid gland in the body. And there's a great book written by Anthony Williams, who wrote The Medical Medium, also on the thyroid gland as well. And he's got one, I think, out on the liver. So, really exploring these organs and glands at a mystical level and restoring the wisdom of the body. Very important. This should be stopped around. The pituitary gland is lower than the pineal gland. So the pituitary, well, it depends on how we look at it, I guess. Pituitary gland is the master gland. It produces hormones and governs the function of the other glands. So it tells all the other glands when to secrete, what to secrete, how to secrete, and why. It is very important, and I'll explain to you some mysteries about this on our retreat together. Pineal gland regulates the biological cycles, including sleep. So very, very, very important. All right, very good. I want you to have a basic understanding of the glands and their functions in the body. You must know this because as a yoga teacher, you're accessing different glands in different asanas. Okay, so now we're going to go through the 7 chakras and we're going to look at some themes around them. This will be expressed more in detail in your notes, and then we'll look at some of the asanas that can be utilized with the chakras. Remember that no part of our body works in isolation, so there's no posture just for one chakra. Okay, many of them will overlap and blend because the body is not just divided into subsections. It's a whole entity working together. Yeah. So Muladhara, the root chakra. What does the word Muladhara mean? It means the root support or the root base. Okay, Mula means root. You'll hear this word a lot in yoga. Mula mantra, the root mantra. Mula bandha, the root lock. Muladhara, dhara meaning support or base. So when we think of support, when we think of base, what do we think of? We think of foundation. Okay, we think of what keeps us safe, where we put our feet. And this is exactly what Muladhara chakra yoga postures are like. The asanas have a lot to do with the legs and the feet, how we stand on this physical ground, on this world. Look at the beautiful yantra associated with this chakra. It has 4 petals. There are mysteries here that I will still reveal to you on our retreat together. It has 4 petals. Each petal has a different sound to it, a different Sanskrit sound. And there is also a Sanskrit symbol on the inside, which represents the sound, the bija sound of that particular chakra. The bija sound of this chakra is lam. So the bija sound is a seed sound, it's a root sound. Every chakra has one. Okay. Even in music, we have how many notes? 7 musical notes. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. And then it starts again. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. There's 7 colors, 7 musical notes, 7 archangels, 7 days of the week, 7 traditional planets. Each planet is ruled by a day of the week as well. Did you know that? I will teach that to you still. So, Lam is the sound here. What does it deal with? It deals with survival. Okay, we've learned before that survival is fight, flight, freeze, or faint. So this is the chakra that is dealing with your survival in this world. Can you imagine how hard it has to work? It is your foundation. Okay, it's how you stand in the world. So it's therefore the element of earth. Okay, and we think of it associated with the biological functions of the body of excretion, earth-related element things. It deals with, as I said, fight, flight, freeze or faint, the four functions of survival. And therefore it is associated with our adrenal glands. Your adrenal glands are what will make you get away from the lion when there is a lion. But we now know that there's no physical lions, but there are world wars, and there's social media, and there's financial issues and crises, and all of these things. Your body sees the threat and keeps us in a constant state of fight, flight, freeze, or faint. Hence the burnout and adrenal fatigue in the world. Routine and structure. Now, routine and structure are important. The root chakra is directly associated with the reptilian brain, the most primal part of our human nervous system. And the reptilian brain likes routine, repetition, and structure. This is why having a personal spiritual practice is so important, a regular practice, and why we chant mantras in repetition, why we practice extended sadhanas for 40 days, 120 days, years on end, because when we practice extended long practices, it triggers very ancient and primal parts of our brain that slowly start to reveal things to us and also start to put us into a routine and a structure. And when we do that, we don't have as much fear in the world anymore. Our anxiety levels can come down. So we can think of the square. If you look at that yantra, there's a symbol of a square, symbol of the element of earth. What do we think of with square? Home, foundation, land, buildings, solid, structure. Okay. The root chakra also deals with our genetics, our DNA, the collective unconscious, and ancestral wisdom, and ancestral trauma as well. Pain, collective pain bodies, and even the shadow side of things. Primal responses, primal urges, okay? Things that we can't necessarily control, like hunger, thirst, sleep, and even sexual urges can be in this and in the second chakra as well, Svadhisthana. So the primal responses, the things that we need to survive. And I already put adrenals. Okay, because of all of this, it can be the chakra that is targeted and affected by money, finances, home, house, and family as well. Job security, those things. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the asanas. Most of these you can find in your asana manual. If not, then they are easy to Google and see what they are. But I've chosen mostly from your asana manual, although there are a few that I added in that are not in your manual, which we use quite often. So listen to my pronunciation. Sukhasana, Sukhasana. Sukhasana is easy speak. Okay, go look it up. It's not in your manual, but go look it up online. We sit in that a lot in our yoga practice. That's the posture most people sit in. Balasana, Balasana, child's pose. Okay, Bala means child. So Balasana. Asana, remember, posture or seat. Okay, so the seat of the child. Okay, so asana actually means a seat, something we sit in. So a posture that we sit in. Malasana, garland pose, also called a goddess squat. Garland pose, very beautiful posture. So all of these asanas will affect the lower body, the legs and the hips as well, feet and knees. Tadasana, mountain pose. Tadasana, Tadasana. Anjaneyasana. Anjaneyasana is the crescent moon lunge. Okay, very beautiful lunge. Anjaneyasana. This one is not in your manual. You need to look it up online. Anjaneyasana. Baddha Konasana. Baddha Konasana. Baddha Konasana is the cobbler's pose. We often call it butterfly posture in class because your legs look like a butterfly. Your feet are together, knees bent and open, and we're folding forward. So it looks like a butterfly, but the actual translation is cobbler's pose, because this is how cobblers used to sit and still do in India, with their knees open, feet together, and a shoe between their feet while they were working on a shoe. Vajrasana. Vajrasana. Vajrasana is called the diamond seal pose. Very beautiful, sitting on the knees, on the heels. Diamond seal. Vajrasana. And then other postures are most standing poses like Trikonasana and the Virabhadrasanas, the warrior poses. So anything that stimulates the legs, makes the legs nice and strong. Utkatasana, the fierce chair, hips, knees, leg postures. And then also we can activate the root center through holding postures for a long period of time. So static holds and grounding movements, anything that grounds us to the earth. Okay, Svadhisthana Chakra. Svadhisthana Chakra. Look at this beautiful yantra. Color is orange. We can see the Sanskrit sounds around it. And the bija sound is Vam, V-A-M, Vam. So if you want to tune into this chakra, if you want to balance it, you can chant Vam, visualizing the symbol or the color orange. And we can also see the beautiful crescent moon here, the ruler of the element of the water. Svadhisthana means the abode of the self, or it means where I abode, okay, where I live. It deals with sex and creativity, so therefore reproduction in the body. In yoga, creativity is seen as a higher form of sexual energy. So yogis will try and channel their sexual energy and utilize it for creative energy. It deals with raw emotions. So we would think that the heart deals with emotions, but really the heart is the meeting place between our thoughts and our raw emotions. So the heart deals with more what I call feelings, okay? How we think about how we feel. Yeah. But raw emotions, anger, joy, sadness, ecstasy, they come from down low in the body, primal emotions. Heart-based emotions are more things like gratitude, shame, guilt, compassion, appreciation. Okay, but fear, joy, ecstasy, things like that come from lower down. Heart, also grief. Water is the element. It is associated with the energy of the goddess. So is Muladhara chakra, the first chakra, also associated with goddess energy. Okay, so remember that water and earth are feminine elements. Ovaries or testes, raw emotions. It has a lunar connection. Sexual shadow or the sexual goals. So sexual trauma can often be stored in and around this area of the body. This is where people can gain weight quite a lot, especially when they've experienced sexual trauma. And it's also where sexual healing can happen. And it's also associated with the kidney and the bladder because of the water works of the body. The kidney association also has a lot to do with people who have addiction to alcohol. It's a water-related addiction, and so it has to do with what? It has to do with emotions, okay? Sometimes even sexual trauma or numbing the emotions. So let's have a look at some of the asanas. Janu Sirshasana. Now, okay, if you had to see this Sirshasana written down, this middle S would normally have a little line above it. I can't do it on this keyboard, but it normally has a little line above it. And when you see a little line above the S, like a little comma, that means that that S is pronounced as an SH. Like Shavasana. Shavasana is written with an S, but it's not pronounced Savasana, it's Shavasana. So in the Sanskrit, we'll often see a little apostrophe above the S that's pronounced Okay, so just make a note of that. Janu Sirshasana means head to knee pose. Okay, it's in your manual. Parivrita Janu Sirshasana. Parivrita. Okay, listen. Parivrita. Vrita. Parivrita Janu Sirshasana. Parivrita means revolved. Okay, so it is a revolved head to knee pose. It's very beautiful, very lovely pose. Hanumanasana. Hanumanasana. Hanuman is the name of the monkey god in Hindu mythology. He's an incarnation of Lord Shiva, and he came in the form of a monkey to represent the control over the monkey mind. So Hanumanasana is also the splits, okay, forward splits. There's beautiful legend there, and if you're really intrigued, go and look up the legend of Hanumanasana, when Hanuman took a big leap. Gangasana. Gangasana. In India, the most sacred river is the Ganges, but her name is actually pronounced Ganga. She's a goddess. Ganga. So this is the asana of Ganga, Ganges pose, water exercise. You can find that in your manual. Jatara. Okay. Jatara. Parivartanasana. Jatara. Parivartanasana. Parivartanasana. Jatara Parivartanasana. What a name, hey? Reclining twist. Very beautiful posture. Everybody loves. So you better learn that name. A lot of these Svadhisthana chakra postures are very similar to the root poses as well. They work with very similar parts of the body. But to really activate them, we use twists quite a lot, lower abdominals, lower back movements, and also because of the nature of water, flowing movements like gentle vinyasa. Okay, powerful hot vinyasa would more be the third chakra. So this would be gentle flowing vinyasa. Okay, Manipura chakra, the solar plexus. Solar meaning the sun. And so we can see this bright yellow fiery sun over here with the bija mantra of Ram, Ram, the bija sound. What does Manipura mean? It means the city of jewels, or more specifically, the lustrous gem of the city. How gorgeous. So it deals with power and courage, okay? Its element is fire. The Sanskrit word for fire is Agni. So it is fire, it is power, it is courage. It is directly associated with the energy of the sun. As we've learned in Ayurveda module, this Agni is stimulated as the sun rises during the day and then closes down as the sun goes down, the metabolic fire, okay? Situated where? At the navel. It is dealing with intuition and instinct, okay? Not the psychic perception of the third eye. It is more like the gut instinct, gut feeling, gut intuition. Instinctive, primal. It is masculine. It is God energy. Pancreas, so it also deals with the insulin levels, sugar levels of the body. Energy storage happens here. It has a solar connection. A really beautiful place to massage with oil and to bathe in the sun for extra prana. It deals with confidence and self-esteem, right? So we can strengthen our confidence and self-esteem through working on this chakra, doing lots of abdominal strengthening exercises as well. And it is the metabolic fire, Agni. So what kind of asanas are we looking at? Well, I guess before we go into anything, abdominal poses. So anything where your core is being activated, strong abdominal postures, there are many of them. These are often the ones that make people, people like, there's a love-hate relationship here. But people kind of burn the most in abdominal poses, don't they? That fire being activated there. What other postures? Uttarasana, camel pose, also good for the heart and the throat because Uttarasana opens everything up. So listen to the pronunciation. Uttarasana. Uttarasana. Camel pose. Okay, really opening up that area. Energizing exercises. So anything that is energizing or heating will help to balance and work with this chakra. Strong vinyasas as well, heating vinyasas. Simhasana, lion pose. Look at the name, Simhasana. And what word does Simha sound like? Simba, the East African word for lion. Simba. Wimba, like Zimbabwe, land of the lions. So Simhasana, Simha is lion, and we can see a linguistic connection of the Sanskrit coming down. Some ancient mysteries here, linguistic mysteries. Breath and fire, see the manual, not to be mistaken with breath of fire, but breath of fire will also be great to stimulate the navel point. Navasana, boat pose. Navasana, Navasana. And where do we get the word navel? All right, but we also have another word for navel. It means one who is in the navy. Yes, so naval means boat, okay, and naval means boat. It means navy. So we have this word nava from the Sanskrit, but it's also in our English language, nava, and where we get the word navigate. Okay, so we must remember that Sanskrit is very closely linked to the European languages as well, because they all have a common root ancestor. And then what other movements? Core movements, abdominals, mid-back, fiery vinyasa, and twists in the higher body. Anahata chakra. Anahata, the heart chakra. What does anahata mean? It means the unstruck sound. There's a mystery there. Love, compassion is at the center of the heart, and also our ability to love ourselves and others, or our inability. Okay, maybe we feel like we don't deserve love. That's all got to do with heart chakra energy. It is the bridge between heaven and earth. So we can see these two triangles here, up and down, connecting heaven and earth, masculine, feminine, mind and body. The bija sound over here is yum, Y-A-M, yum. Think the heart is delicious, yum, yum, yum. The element is air, and therefore it has a masculine association as well. The gland is the thymus. It has to do with feelings, self-worth, self-love, lungs, ribs, and upper back. Postures, also Ustrasana, Bhujangasana, so mostly back bends, okay, back bends. So Bhujangasana, cobra pose, listen, Bhujangasana, do you hear the H? Not Bhujangasana, Bhujangasana, Bhujang, kind of pushing the B out, Bhujangasana, cobra pose, Balasana, child's pose, Urdhva Dhanurasana, the bridge, okay, also just called a back bend, all right, sometimes called Chakrasana, the wheel. So Urdhva Dhanurasana, Urdhva Dhanurasana. Urdhva means upward looking, okay, so it's actually translated as upward facing bow pose. Dhanurasana means bow pose. The upward facing bow, but some people call it the bridge. Some people also know it by the other name, Chakrasana, the wheel pose. We've learned today that the word chakra means wheel, and asana, posture, so the wheel pose. Dhanurasana is the bow pose, sometimes also called a boat, but it's not. It just looks like a boat, but it's the bow pose. And then all sorts of back bends can be heart chakra openers. We call them heart openers, back bends. But we must remember that because the chakras are also in the back of the body, you know, what we do to the one side, we must do to the other. So whenever you do back bends, you must do forward bends after that to balance it out. And then where else? The upper back, breathing is associated with this chakra, most forward folds, inversions, and then arm postures can be linked to this chakra as well as the throat. So arm balances could very well deal with the heart chakra. Most people don't think of that. Vishuddha, throat chakra. So the word Vishuddha or Vishuddhi means to purify or especially pure. How gorgeous. And I wonder if that maybe has to do with the fact that when we speak our truth and when we can verbalize what we're really feeling, we have the ability to clean out the heart, to clear out the mind by expressing. If we hold it in, it clogs, it congests, it turns to stale, stagnant, negative energy. So ISHTA, we purify through sound, through the word, and not necessarily by having verbal diarrhea, because that might actually signify an overstimulated throat chakra. Just talking is not, it's not a sacred act. Sometimes silence is the greatest expression. And knowing when to express our truth, when to speak our truth, and when to silence. So there's many practices and understandings around the throat, but also sound purifies the body and the energy. Through the chanting of mantra and sacred sound, we realign our vibration. We bring ourselves back to our base resonant frequencies. And we can do that through mantra, chanting, and sound. So expression, communication, the element is associated with kasha or space. So space is created through this chakra. It's the thyroid, silence, words, singing. Singing is a great way, and chanting, to balance and purify and to heal this chakra. So singing is great. Expression through song. Speaking your truth and then knowing when to sing. Remember that Buddha said, before we say anything, it must pass through 3 gates. Can you remember what they are? Do you know them? Is it kind? Is it truthful? And is it necessary? So firstly, before we say something, we go, okay, does it pass the first test, the first gate? Is it a true thing? Okay, what I'm about to say, is it a true thing? If yes, we can put it to the second test. Is it kind? Okay, we might already have to stop there. And if it passes kind, then we can go through the third test. Is it necessary? Buddha said that if we can pass through all 3 gates, then we should be able to say that thing. Most of the time, we will probably be very much more quiet. And the bija sound here is hum, hum, HAM. Postures, Matsyasana, fish pose, also good for heart chakra. Neck rolls, shaking the head. Salamba, Sarvangasana. Listen, Salamba, Sarvangasana, shoulder stand. Halasana, plow pose. So plow pose, halasana, is shoulder stand with the feet and the legs drop back behind you. And always after these 2, whichever one or both, we always do Matsyasana, fish pose, to open the thyroid and to balance it after putting all that pressure on. And then any throat, neck, and shoulder openers, any work with the jaw, the mouth, the collarbones, and the upper spine. Almost there, yogis, almost there now. Okay, so this third eye or brow chakra has a few pronunciations. It could be Ajna or Agnya or Anya. Okay, up to you. It means beyond wisdom. This is our center for psychic abilities, inner vision, and clairvoyance. What does inner vision mean? It means that when you close your eyes, you can still visualize, you can see. And visualization is a skill that I'm noticing more and more is lacking in people. Visualization is vital because if we do not practice the art of visualization, how can we see the reality that we want? How can we perceive our visions? How can we dream? How can we see through intuition? How can we receive psychic visions? Okay, so practicing visualization is an extremely important practice. Its element is light, consciousness, the awakening, the opening of our eyes to see things for what they are. That's what consciousness means, to be conscious of something, to see it, to be awakened to its true nature. Pituitary gland, the mantra here is Om. Tritaka is a practice. Tritaka can be gazing at a candle or at a point of light or a fixed point or a star or even the sun. We'll learn about that on retreat. We deal with imagination, dreams, and nightmares, and visions. So if overstimulated, it might be somebody who's, maybe too lost in their head in the clouds, too dreamy, overstimulated in that way, or they struggle to actualize it. They can dream it, but can they make it manifest? The lower three chakras are our ability to actually make it happen. Upper chakras are our ability to conceive it. So we can conceive a new business, we can conceive a new project, but do we have the ability to actually make it happen? This is why the chakras are all important. These upper chakras are not always easy to find postures for, but we can look at Sarvangasana, the shoulder stand, or Salamba Sarvangasana. Kind of works all these three upper chakras. Sirsasana, here's one of those invisible sh sounds. So when you write it down, put that little apostrophe above that middle S. Sirsasana, headstand. Shaking the head, Parataka again. Dharana, so any concentration or focus exercises, eye exercises, and then cranial massage, ears, temples, third eye drishtis, child's pose, visualization. Okay, drishti is a focal point. And when we look at this symbol here, we see those two petals, and I told you earlier, they represent the two hemispheres of the brain, but also the connection of Ida and Pingala meeting at the top. Finally, Sahasrara chakra. Sahasrara means the 1,000-petaled lotus. This is very beautiful. The color is violet. Crown chakra, Sahasrara. It is our divine connection. It is what keeps us in contact with God at all times. People say their crown chakra is closed. It cannot be closed. Okay, maybe you're ignoring it. Maybe you don't have the ability to perceive it, but we never ever are disconnected from God. We can't exist without a connection to God. So maybe you're just ignoring it, maybe you're not focusing on it, maybe you're not prioritizing it, but it's never closed. It can't be. So it's divine connection, channeling, and wisdom come through the crown chakra. When we channel our guides, when we channel higher wisdom, higher self, it comes through there. Higher knowledge, pineal and hypothalamus glands, silence. Okay, it doesn't really have a mantra associated with it. It is found in silence. Tat Tvam Asi is a mantra that means I am that I am. This is you can contemplate this here. Tat Tvam Asi or Hariom Tat Sat. I am that. I am that I am. We feel the liberation, enlightenment, samadhi bliss. So similar to third eye and throat chakras, similar postures here, Matsyasana, shaking the head, Sirsasana, Sarvangasana, Yoga Mudra, which is a more advanced yoga posture, incorporating internal locks, Mahabandha, which is the great lock we learn about on advanced training, and Dhyana, the practices of meditation. So here we come, last slide, yogis. So I said here in the last slide, now it is your turn. Okay, every time you're in a class, ask yourself, which chakra or chakras do I feel like this asana might target? Okay, maybe directly, maybe it's just the most obvious thing in the world. This is working on my heart chakra, but indirectly, it might also be working on my throat and my solar plexus. So this helps us to kind of develop an understanding of how the chakras work together and how they relate to one another. Yeah, so maybe you're in a Natarajasana, a dancer pose. Yes, you're activating the legs, so you're getting, and you're opening your hips, so it's root chakra, but also the heart and the shoulder are open. So maybe it's also heart and throat, who knows? So you must decide. Just think to yourself, as you're on your practice, I wonder which chakra this is working. I wonder, what's happening in my body? Is this massaging an organ? Is it stimulating a gland? Do I feel grounded? Do I feel spaced out? Okay, it's very important. What do I think are the glandular effects of this asana? If I know that it deals with the adrenals, what does that mean? I know that it deals with the thyroid, what does that mean? What colors might go with this pose? Okay. What themes would you think around the chakras, colors, body parts, elements, etc.? Could you create an entire class based on one chakra? Yeah. Could you base an entire class on all of the chakras? Could you base it on 2 chakras? Yes, 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 to all of those. And on your retreat, you're going to teach a chakra class of your own. It might be 1 chakra, it might be 7 chakras, it's up to you. But there are connections to the chakras. So what themes can we start looking at? And then try and think outside the box. So what colored foods relate to the chakras? Blueberries, strawberries, oranges, lemons. Look at the colors of food and how it associates to different chakras and what glandular effect might that have on the body. What about music? Okay, root chakra music would have things like tribal drums, rhythm, trance music, very much. Or is it seductive, sacral chakra music, getting the belly to move, the sexual energy to move? Okay? Is it heart chakra energy? Does it stir the heart? Maybe something like opera, the throat, or choir music, the higher centers. Okay, every bit of music affects different energy frequencies in our body. Aromatherapy, all the chakras have oils associated with them. You can put oils in your bath, or you can spray them on to help to activate, stimulate, or balance certain chakras. Crystals as well. All right, yogis, so there it is. We have reached the end of our chakra section, and I think we've done really, really well to this point. So thank you for being so attentive in this section. There is more juice to come, I promise you. But for now, you've got quite a lot to absorb, and I will, in the academy, have your readings, your homework, and your other videos to watch. Okay, so thank you for being here today. Hari Om Tat Sat, Tat Tvam Asi. Namaste.